guys, Boomslang here. I was just going to bring you a beginner's guide to a ZvZ build, so Zone v Zone. Obviously, since I've joined Warblood, I need to pick one of the approved specs, and this is one of the meta specs, so most guilds and alliances will be running this kind of tank spec. I'm basically going to just fame farm it and hope that I can tank, because I've never tried this build before. So I'm going to try this tank spec, and I've never tried the Morning Star, so I just had to dump a load of Tomes of Insight into it. I've never used the Mage Sandals before. I had access to this because I've leveled up some stuff, so basically you want to F into a clump of enemies and then immediately W, and then followed by E. Now what that does, the teleport is pretty self-explanatory, teleports you in. The W, you slam your weapon on the ground, and then all enemies in a 6-meter radius at the impact location get rooted and all their spells interrupted. So that's the first part, and then you want to immediately E, because it roots all the enemies around you for up to 4 seconds, and it ignores enemy crowd control resistance, and after the channel ends, enemies will stay rooted for 1.5 seconds. So technically what you're doing is rooting them for 5.5 seconds after you've already initially just interrupted them and rooted them. Once that's off, you could also use the Enfeebled Aura. So they do 60% less damage around you, and they're also slowed by 15%. And it also reveals invis targets, so it's a really, really amazing tank spec to dive in, mess up countless people, whilst all of your DPS at the back are firing in and taking them out. What else have we got? We've got increased crowd control resistance, makes your target immune to displacement effects. So basically you cast this on yourself and you become immune to, you know, stuff that would knock you back, pull you in, all those sorts of stuff. So it's really useful. And then obviously the teleport. And at the moment I'm using the Q because I'm going to be going, and I need the threat control. Threatening Smash I'm using, but you could use Defensive Slam. It increases armor and magic resistance for you and allies 5-meter radius by 41, 3 seconds. Can affect up to 5 allies. So you could be using that. I've got it on the stun, the helm, 5% increased CC duration, pretty obvious reason why, but as I'm going into a random dungeon with this group of guys here, I'm going to switch it over to damage reduced. Enfeeble again. You don't really need taunt. I mean, if you start losing aggro in dungeons, switch it back to taunt. 10% increased CC, switch it over to damage because we're going into a dungeon. Threat gen, but if you weren't in a dungeon, you don't need threat. So in the ZvZ, you can use the normal attacks, apply a debuff on mobs. I don't know if that would count on people. I'll have to try that. If it does, it reduces max health by 12%. This effect cannot be stacked and has no effect against players. Right, no effect against players, so yeah, I guess just keep it on threat gen at all times. Then obviously the teleport, we know why. And increase your damage and healing power. And the other part of this is the cape. So conditions activate when you take damage and your health is below 25%. Increase your defense by 50%. So that is obviously very useful for when you're doing a dive into massive group of guys, and you know they're all going to start trying to focus you once the silencers and roots have worn off. And it can also be very good in dungeons if your healers ran out of mana, or you've not dodged a skill. You know, it's going to reduce your damage that you're taking by, well, not your damage, but it's going to increase your defense by 50%. So overall damage is reduced during that period of time, which might allow you to survive, or it might allow the healer to get a cheeky heal off. As always, run whatever bag, mount, and yeah, bag and mount this time, whatever you want for those two potions. The resistance potion and the beef sandwich, goat sandwich even, came in handy yesterday on a run that I did. A couple of scenarios where the healer ran out of mana, or I fumbled and didn't dodge something, and that extra 33% to defenses really helped out. Saved my life a couple of times, so would highly recommend the resistance potions and the goat sandwiches, but again, you can bring whatever you want. And what I'm going to do is just take you guys through some of the dungeon, some highlights of the dungeon that I run with this ZvZ build, and then when I get it, I'm just basically in a fame farm. I've mentioned in previous videos that you can you know, reduce whatever it is that you've got to nothing, spend a chunk of money, and then max out something else. It's not really worth doing. You're going to lose so much fame compared to fame credits, and you know, it's going to cost you so much money. If you want to try something else, just go and fame farm it. Just go and kill a load of mobs and get yourself, you know, up to a nice level in that new thing. Because at some point, I'd like to hope, for me and for everybody, at some point you will be, you know, 100 in everything, or most things. It just takes time. You just got to invest in it. And me, I chop and change all the time. So you know, I've got 75 in leather, and now I'm swapping over to some plate and some cloth, and you know, you learn these things. So what I'm trying to do is, if you guys want to get into ZvZs, try and find a guild that does them, and then find out what gear requirements you need to be in a ZvZ, and start building it up. So this is one of them for those tanks out there. Yeah, give it a shot, guys. Let's get into some gameplay. Catch you guys in a second. Hey guys, so a couple of things changed. The group fell apart in Caerleon before we even left, so I'm now in a different group, and we've gone to a tier 5 zone, and I'm just trying out this build. It works really well. You know, you can group up a lot of mobs together and then route them all in place for your AoE. DPS to come in and take over from that. And I mean, I think we've just got a really good healer in here. I don't think I'm actually really good at the moment, but I don't seem to be taking too much damage. And as you saw there, I rooted and silenced, so I prevented that spell from going off. Go in, turn that mob, try and avoid it, but the timing is a bit the timing and also the size of the projectile is a bit off, so I keep messing that one up. But yeah, you know, you jump in, you root everything in place, you silence them. You know, this is, I can understand why this is in the top in the meta for ZvZs. You know, that jump alone is amazing. You know, if you teleport in, and jump on top, or you can jump straight in, it's just gonna wreck people's day. You know, a massive group of people, you jump in, you silence everybody, and then you do your route as well. It's just gonna be carnage. So yeah, I didn't want to make this video too long. Some people are complaining about that, but I wanted to be able to speak to you guys and say what I wanted to say as well. So I'm just trying to cut a fine balance at the moment. So basically, I've gone over the build. I'm going to show you a little bit more in the dungeon, but yeah, this is a top tier meta build, mainly for ZvZ. I'm just testing it out in here just to see how much reliability you can have on this as a tank in just a normal dungeon scenario. You know, you don't want to invest in this purely for ZvZ and then you never get into ZvZ. You also want to be able to use this in random dungeon situations. You know, you want to give it a shot, see what you can do. A good way to round up mobs, if you let your group know, which I haven't, so that, you know, it's fine what they're doing. If you press your R and run through the whole room, get them all in a big group, and then W them into a position that your AoE DPS can just go to town. I'll try and do this on the next room, if there's a big room coming up. Just remember to bring food as well. I mean, this isn't really going to work because they're already here, but yeah, there's the interrupt. There's my Q to get threat back. And yeah, you know, you could route everything in place. I guess for me it's not quite as effective as you know, some of the more popular meta random dungeon tanking builds, specifically the Incubus Mace with Guardians and preferably the Facebreaker Shield, but you know, this would work. And all I'm trying to achieve from this is to fame farm. I just want to get my new items up so that I can get to at least 6.1. That's preferably what I'm aiming for, and I believe that would be tier 6. What did I get? Anyway, yeah, tier 30, level 30 is tier 6. So that's what I'm aiming for, is level 30 in these new items at least. That's the bare minimum for most ZvZ guilds, so you know, that's what you want to aim for. So try and get that sorted out and then jump straight into some ZvZs with your guild. Practice arenas as well, that always helps. And yeah, I'd say if you've got a nice group behind you and you've got a good healer, I think this build is still viable for random dungeons. I mean, I've managed to hold aggro 90% of the time. I haven't really taken that much damage. I think it's probably the healer, not me, as I say. There's a perfect use of the W. So yeah, I'd say this is a really good build. I think it's viable. Give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think. And remember, the giveaway is still going on. There's 2 times 750 gold codes. Check all of that out. Enter, and good luck to you, and hope you're lucky. And yeah, remember to like, subscribe. If you really enjoy, hit the bell notification. And I'll continue trying to bring you guys cool content with some info, something interesting. And yeah, big news on the horizon. Just need to get it all locked in and finalized, and then I'll be able to let you guys know. But yeah, that's it for this one.